the training evangelist here at Dealer Inspire. I'm the one that brings you all this great information and talks to you about all this kind of stuff and brings in people here to subject matter experts to, you know, let you know what we've got going on here at Dealer Inspire. Also, as you know, this webinar will be up within 24 hours on our website. You can also check out subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're more of a binger. And we will, you know, have all kinds of there's all other stuff there on our site as well, FAQ pages, past webinars. We do have upcoming webinars, even though it doesn't say right now, but we got some great stuff coming out of the pipeline, and blogs, all the great stuff. So check it out. Everyone will be muted, but if you do have any questions, please send them to me via the chat function that you have on GoToMeeting, or you can always shoot an email at dealerspire.com. So as I mentioned, we got Allyn. You guys all know Allyn. I mean, how can you not? He's going to do a Google Analytic review live right here for you all, so you know exactly what those metrics mean, how to, you know, how they're read, how the story is, you know, is interpreted, how to get the trends, all that great stuff. So I'm going to pass everything over here to Allyn right now, so he can do his thing, and yeah, we're just going to sit back and watch the man work. So Allyn, thank you for being here with me.
All right, thank you, Shawnee. So here we go. Let's right into this, and I'll explain everything I've got going here for everyone. And again, as always, put those questions in the chat because I'm sure they'll come up as we go. I'm going to try not to go too fast, but I got a lot of information to pack in here. So with that, I do like to say to new employees that start here at Dealer Inspire and launch digital marketing, and everybody that I do training to, that analytics tell a story, and it's our job, along with our client, to interpret the story or to tell the story, because there's a lot of things behind the analytics that we don't know. And so that's what these reviews are for, and that's why it's important to review your analytics at least monthly with your digital marketing agency or your digital marketing person, to understand what the story is, what story is being told in the analytics, and then how you can tell it better. So with that, what I've done is I've gone into real customer data, and we're going to start right here. I've got screenshots and everything. Just, you know, I couldn't open actual live analytics because I can't cover up the customer name, because I would never reveal a customer's information. So I had to do screenshots, and you're going to see a lot of things like covered up here, and that's just where I'm covering up their name. But other than that, you can see here that I've got June 1st to August 19th, so yesterday. So this is as real as we can get as far as timing on the analytics. The other thing you're going to notice in the setup here is I've got a year-over-year comparison in. It's always best to compare analytics year-over-year. When you do month-to-month, I understand there's a lot of use for that, but there's also a lot of seasonal fluctuation in a lot of cases when it goes month-to-month, as well as maybe what the OEMs are doing. If you're going year-over-year, though, you're typically going to get a better apple-to-apple look. I also grabbed here a good 79 days of data. I like to grab more, at least 60 days of data when I'm doing a on, knowing that the customer's shopping habits in auto are typically 45 days plus. So we try to grab a little bit larger of a window if we can. So we're going to compare through this entire thing, June 1st to yesterday of this year versus last year. So this is your overall screen that you get when you open up. It's kind of your overview, and we're going to use this right here as a jumping off point. So the first thing we have up here in the top left are sessions. Those are what used to be called visits, and they're just total visits to your website. And you'll see that this client is up, and it's up a lot. So automatically I've got a red flag up. You say, Allyn, why would you put a red flag up for a positive thing? And I'm going to put a red flag up for this one because this client's been with me for many years, and this is a huge jump. Typically not something we see. So automatically my ears are up. I got to ask questions. By the way, I always encourage you to be inquisitive when you see things that are out of the norm. When you see outliers or outlier type traffic, you should always question that and find out why is it that way, even if you think it's a good thing. Users are what we used to call unique visitors. Now they're called users, and you can see those are up. Typically when your visits are up, your unique visitors will also be up. Page views, obviously when you have more people coming to your site, you're going to get more pages viewed. But oh no, red flag, again, pages per visit are down. Was 2.3 and now 2.0. This just so you know, I guess I should preface this. I will tell you this. This is a Honda dealer somewhere in the United States of America. I can at least tell you that much so you get an idea. You'll see the word Honda quite a bit here. So right now, 2.3 versus 2, that's a pretty low page per visit across the country from what I see. However, this customer gets a lot more mobile traffic than most, and that accounts for that overall. So that's not something I'm going to dig into today. That's something I know because it's been that way for quite a while with this client. Their mobile traffic is skewed a little bit higher than most that I see. And because it's mobile traffic and because our websites are designed to get people to VDPs super quick on mobile, that's why their pages per visit are down. There's a couple other reasons why as well, and we'll look at that. Average time on site, also pretty low. Their average of 211 is pretty low across the industry, but again, with the amount of mobile traffic they get, I'm good with it, but we've dropped all the way to 144. If you're looking for what I might call a standard, I like as a standard 1 minute per page, or a minute and 5 seconds per page. That's the standard I see across the industry, and that's not just for Dealer Inspire websites, that's across all website platforms that I've ever worked with. I always see about a minute to a minute and 5 per page as being average. Bounce rate, this is one of those that gets everybody up in arms, especially at 20 group meetings, but you can see that their bounce rate has gone up, and we know exactly why that is when we do this deep dive. So we'll go into understanding that, because you know what, having a high bounce rate is not a bad thing if you know why you have a high bounce rate. I always like to discuss this one in case people on the phone don't know. What a bounce is when a visitor gets to one single page on your website and then leaves. They may stay on that page for 10 minutes or they may stay on that page for 10 seconds, but if they leave without viewing another page on the website, that's a bounce. Bounces are good and bad. If I come to your site to see if you have a white 2014 Honda Civic still in stock, and I get there and see that that is still in stock and I leave, and I bounce, that's a good bounce. You answered my question. A bad bounce would be if I came to your website looking to buy a new camera and I got to your Honda automobile website and I got ticked off and left. That's a bad bounce. Again, bounces can be good or they can be bad. One thing to keep in mind is that as we do more deep linking and as we get better technology to deep link into websites, your bounce rate will go up. If you don't know what a deep link is, it's a cool term that you can use at a party on a Friday night when you're with your digital marketing nerd buddies, and they'll think you're the coolest person in the room if you talk about your deep links. But what it basically is instead of sending everyone to your homepage, you send them to the deepest page possible to answer their question as quickly as possible. When you do that, they should only have a need to view one page and then leave, so that's going to increase your bounce rate. One other thing to keep in mind is that there is a flaw in Google Analytics, and I believe it's a flaw that they have on purpose. But what that is when someone bounces, when a visitor hits one page and leaves, Google counts that as a 0-0 in the overall. So when somebody bounces, if they stayed 10 minutes, Google records that as a 0-page view, 0 time on site. So whenever you look at your overall pages per visit and your overall time on site, keep in mind your bounce rate is skewing that down because of any bounces that you have are counted as 0-0. All right, without getting too funky now, let's go into some questions that I get just from looking at this 30,000-foot view. The first one is, we have a nice increase in traffic overall, but again, that's an outlier. I want to know why. The pages per average time down, why is that, and why is our bounce rate up? But before we try to interpret that, before we look into that, let's look at the very end result. Let's look at the end of the story to see what the end is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here, and we're going to go into, and this is an actual screenshot from analytics. As you look on the left, you're going to scroll down under multi-channel funnels. You're going to go to the top conversion paths, and I have that highlighted right over here on the left. We're going to see this view a lot. If you're trying to screenshot or anything right now, don't worry about it. This is all recorded. You can go back and look at it. We want to go to top conversion paths. This drop down right here, it lets me change my conversion types. On Dealer Inspire websites, there could be anything from 8 to 15 different ways that someone could submit a lead. And by the way, when we talk about conversions here, we're talking about leads submitted on your website. We're not talking about phone calls in this case. This is only leads submitted on the website. So what I'm going to do with the conversion types, I'm going to press that and drop it down because I'm going to take out things like employment leads, parts leads, and service leads. I do use those for other types of deep dives and other reviews, of course, but this is a sales type review here. So in my conversion types, I only have sales activity conversions. Path length we'll talk about, but you change it to all, and then you do your look back window to 90 days. Without getting too much into that, it's saying Google's going to look back at the conversions from the first visit 90 days ago. So that's about the max length you can do. Long story short is we came out with this client here. They have a 78% increase in leads year over year. They had 611 leads during this period this year versus 343 last year. So now the picture's already beginning to get painted. The story's already beginning to be told. We had a lot more visits to the site. That's awesome. But look at the lead increase. Who wouldn't take a 78% lead increase? This is a client that's been with against some Joe Schmo company that had him last year, and he just switched to us. This is the client I've been working with for a long time, and we see a really, really nice increase in leads. So that's pretty exciting for me as a strategist that's been working with this client for a while. So we know the end of the story, and we know the leads are awesome. So let me just go back to where we were. So we were on this one right here, and so I said, let's break down the channels. Let's go into the channel data. So because we need to get granular, we can't look at 30,000 foot anymore. So we need to break down to the channel level so we can look at where the traffic's coming from and see what buttons we need to work on. All right, so that's what this report is here. And we'll talk about the conversions that this shows because they're a little bit different than what I showed you a few minutes ago. But you can see these are all of our traffic sources or our channels: organic, referral, direct traffic, paid search. And any of you that have been doing this for a while, you know what these are. These look very familiar. But we want to break down into them. But we can get a little bit of a summary view here as well, and we can start to make some decisions. Before we do that, though, let's talk about the conversions here, because this is something I want to address, because often I'll have here clients, and by the way, Launch Digital Marketing is our marketing arm, and we do a lot of work for folks that are also not on Dealer Inspire. So I see all kinds of website platforms, not just Dealer Inspires. And one of the biggest things people want to know is, what is my website's conversion rate? And that's a huge buzzword nowadays, and it's also something that's not very well defined. And in fact, conversion rate on a website is defined by who you're talking to. I have heard at least 50 different ways that people calculate it. Is it scrolling down now? No? Yeah,
for some people it's working, for some people it's not.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep going, and we'll try to keep figuring it out. So real quick, you can see conversion rates right here. So this is organic search, and you can see that the organic search delivered 260 leads during this time, and it has a 0.74% conversion rate. That's based on this website, this client's organic traffic. You can see last year they had 209 leads from organic. Rate. So this is where things get confusing, because people will say, well, your website should convert at 4% or it's a failure, or your website should convert at this or that. The reason when I hear that, my question always is, what is the marketing mix? So without getting too deep here, I'll give you an example. This client if they're not very well known in their market search, then that means if their name is very well known client, they've taken on a very nice, aggressive television budget this year, which has increased their branded search. So it's gotten them more searches. Paid search has also degraded a little bit in the conversion rate. So while we work through these technical difficulties, now it says I'm reestablished. Yeah. While we work through the technical difficulties, let me just summarize it this way. Conversion rate matters by your marketing mix. I can make your conversion rate 75% tomorrow if you want me to. All you have to do is marketing, and we will actually de-index your website from the internet, and the only people that will find it are people that type in www.yoursite.com. Those people that really want to get there, they'll convert at 75%. If we want to do the other extreme, you could give me $1 million for display advertising, and I'll display your name everywhere across the entire United States and maybe into Canada and the rest of the world. And if I do that, you'll get a ton of traffic, but your conversion rate will sink to 0.0000001%. So I hope by using an extreme like that, you'll understand how marketing mix affects your conversion rates. You can't compare it across person to person. Lastly, these conversions here in this view are what we call last click or direct conversions. What that means is organic search is getting 100% credit for those 260 conversions by last click or direct. But we know, because I'm going to show you a view a little bit later, that organic doesn't always work by itself. It's not always the last, it is the last click in this 260 cases, but there may have been 7 or 8 clicks prior to that that assisted. So when we look at conversions, we should not always just look at direct or last click conversions. We should look at assisted conversions. Otherwise, you might think that your paid search efforts don't work, because paid search a lot of times assists and doesn't always take the lead as direct. So I think that'll come a little bit more clear as we go further into this. For right now, though, let's just stick to the numbers, and we can see that organic search is up 66%. That's a wow. However, the bounce rate has also gone up a lot. That could be a yikes. Conversion rates we talked about, is this a bad thing? And the answer is no, because overall I'd rather have 260 leads than 209. This is organic traffic, so I didn't have to pay to get this traffic. So in this case, even though my conversion rate may have degraded, I'm not upset about it, because I would love to have this extra 51 leads. But we still need to figure out where things coming from. Is it the TV that could be increasing it from a lot of extra branded search, and I believe it is in a lot of cases, or is it some other things? Referral traffic is also up a lot. So I need to understand, why is referral traffic up? But look at the leads, they're also up. Conversion rates up and leads. We'll dig into that, and I'll tell you why that happened. And again, these are all things I've worked with on the client to understand. Direct traffic. Direct traffic is somewhat of an unknown, but I say somewhat because I'll show you what direct traffic is. And by the way, you can see here direct traffic's up by 76%, but leads have stayed flat. Conversion rates degraded, so we're going to look at that. And then paid search. They really didn't do any before, and then they took on a paid search budget this year. And of course, that's going to take the bounce rate up a little bit because we do Fuel, which is our paid search, dynamic paid search product that sends people directly to VDPs when possible. So that's going to increase the bounce rate because of those deep links. And we talked about the flaw in Google Analytics. So we're going to look at each of these channels now individually. So hopefully we'll be able to understand a little bit more about what's going on, even though looking at this view definitely helps you understand a few things even a little bit better. All right, so let's take an organic deep dive. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over here on the left, and we're going to go to channels, but I actually clicked the word organic. So you know what I did? I actually clicked the word organic search right here. Whoops. I clicked that word organic search, and that's what brings you to this. So channels, and it'll say here default channel grouping organic search right there. All right, so let's see what that looks like. The first thing it gets is it defaults to your list of keywords. Now I've obviously left out the keywords because I don't want to reveal who this client is. But let's talk a little bit about not provided. There's some kind of controversy that swirls around that, and people don't understand it. You'll see last year 83% of their keywords were not provided. This year it's 90%, and that's going to keep going up. We've seen that on the rise over the years. What that is when somebody's logged into any Google service or product, Google says it's a privacy issue and they do not pass on the keyword information. Let me just say this though, when you get at least a year's worth of data, you can take the year's worth of data of the 10% of the keywords that you can see, and over a year, you can use that to really make some really good strategy pushes to understand what keywords are actually delivering traffic. Not what some tool says you rank for, but what keywords are actually delivering traffic. But because we only can get about 10% of the keywords now, we need to use at least a full year's worth of data. So I always like to throw that out there. At the end of every year, it's a good idea to go and look at 12 months worth of keyword data and see what information you can glean from that. By the way, if you're wondering why the not provided is going up, well, what not provided is, by the way, again, somebody is logged into any Google service. The reason it's going up is because of two things. One is the advent of the Android phone, and you cannot even be logged, you can't even work on an Android phone if you're not logged into Google. And then coupled with that is Google Chrome, which is now cross-browser compatible. In other words, pretty much anything that I do on my browser, Google Chrome on my Android phone, also translates onto my desktop browser or my desktop Google Chrome browser. So I'm pretty much logged into Google 100% of the time, and a lot of other people around the world are. So that's why the not provided is growing, because of the increase in mobile and the increase in Android, and because of the Google Chrome browser. So what I do then is I go ahead and say, I don't care about the keyword data. I want to see the landing page, because that's going to give you a lot of good information about your organic traffic. And when we do that, I have a quick screenshot here. There's a lot more to look at. But I see a page right here at the top is my #1 generating. And I obviously blacked out some of the name of the page. But what this is it's a page that we did that is informational regarding service. And what this does is this was a pointed strategy that we worked on with the client. We did this for a couple of reasons. We did it, #1, just to help their customers when they have questions about maintenance and whatever this page was about. They can send that to the customer. But it was also a great SEO play, as you can see, because this page got 7,740 visits. By the way, this page was alive last year. It just didn't get this amount of traffic because this page was the only page of its type on the entire internet, and it garnered links from automotive blogs around the country. There is no one in the world that would tell you that's a bad thing. Those are natural links from automotive blogs that came in. That is SEO in action, my friends. That is exactly how it should work, and that's how it worked in this case. The challenge, though, is it also delivered a lot of traffic that the client didn't want, not through referrals, but because the page got links from these auto blogs, it started to rank very highly in search around the country. And most of those 7,740 visits are irrelevant to this client. So what that did is it increased the bounce rate. You can see that the bounce rate is high anyway on the page, but now it's 92%, of which a good 95% of those visitors are not relevant to this client. Somebody might say, Allyn, is that a waste? And I would say no, because it's organic traffic that you didn't pay for, and you got natural links, which increase your domain authority overall. They also, by the way, get 2 leads from it, because if you're ranking nationally, guess what? You're probably ranking locally as well. So I would never say that this type of content is bad. And by the way, there's about 25 of these exact or very similar pages that were done around service, parts, and things like that that are garnering tons of traffic, which are equating to most of the organic increase that we see. But again, this is never a negative because this is organic traffic and it draws links. So there you go. You can also see here a low time on site, but remember Google, when they bounce, 92% of these people bounce. Those are getting counted as 0, 0. So we would guess and think that this page has a little bit more engagement than that. So either way, that's a positive thing all around and something we need to realize. Now, I would look then a little bit deeper at homepage traffic, which is what the second one is, and that one is down. So that gives me the rut row. We need to take a look. However, we do see more leads coming from the homepage traffic. So that's one of those things we need to look at, and that's a strategy adjustment that I'm going to do. We did a nice job on these pages right here. We did a nice job working on these, beefing them up this year, but we're going to move away from that because I don't want to neglect my backyard, which is a lot of my homepage traffic. Again, also a lot of branded traffic comes there. So now I understand a little bit more about the organic traffic increase and where it came from, and a strategy that we had employed in the past was working. But again, I'm going to back away from it now because I don't want to neglect my home page and my other primary pages on my site. So I've got a little story that's been told there, and I've actually got some notes that I can use here that I did right here for this client. So special articles, service tech tips, they worked well, but keep in mind, we need to make sure that we're reaching out in some other areas. So we're going to actually change up the content to a journalistic style. And what we're going to start doing is interviewing the client's customers and using those interviews to turn into great content to create shares, local mentions where they work, all kinds of really good content that's going to get a lot of local backyard mentions, which will be real, true journalistic type materials that we're going to interview their customers on. So it's kind of a little bit more of a difficult SEO strategy, but it's one that's going to garner a lot of shares and a lot of really good local type mention. All right, next let's look at deep dive into referral. So we did the same thing. We went over here to channels and we clicked on referral. And there's a couple things we see here. The first thing is the good majority of increase in referrals for this client is coming from their what we would call their group page. This is a group, a dealer group, so they get a lot of traffic from their referral page. And they also, again, I told you, started doing some TV, and they did some generic branding of the group, which drove more people to the group page. One thing we did this year is we changed the group page, and we didn't have any inventory on it or anything like that. We made it a true splash page where when you got there, all you could really do was go down to one of the individual dealerships. As you can see, that increased the traffic, and it also increased the leads nicely. The key here is to look back, though, and say we got an increase here in leads of 137%, but we lost leads on the auto group page. Is there a payoff or a trade-off here? And the answer is yes, this is a positive trade-off. We've gotten more leads by sending people down into the dealer sites rather than leaving them at the group site. Again, strategy in action. Next thing we see here, this is their tier 2, which again I blacked out so you can't tell who they are, but that's their tier 2. Not anything I'm involved with, but tier 2 delivered them more leads, and I want to give them that good news. I want them to take that back to their next tier 2 meeting and say, hey, you guys are delivering more leads. Maybe we can work some more on, because they did change their site. The tier 2 group changed the website, which delivered more traffic, which delivered more leads. So I'm always looking for positives that I can help the client on other things that they're doing. And in this case, it looks like tier 2 is doing a little bit better job year over year, and we want to give them some kudos. All right, let's keep digging. Now we're going to look into paid search. Now, Typically, we can use a lot more outside of this than just analytics. I like to look at click-through rates. I like to look at impressions. There's a lot of stuff you can garner from impressions, especially if you have a name brand campaign. You can look at your name brand in the marketplace over time, and some people would call that name brand effectiveness in the marketplace. A lot of cool stuff you can look at. But we're just looking at analytics today. So again, I'm over here in channels, and I'm going to click on the word paid search. Keep in mind, they didn't do a paid search strategy last year. So we're going to get a lot of good information. What we're going to look at today, and again, there's a lot of different things to look at here, is I want to look at city data. So what you do is the default for this view here is keyword. Is you go over here and you click the word other, and up will come a display, and you're going to go under users and you're going to click city. Because I don't care about the campaigns right now. What I want to look at is what cities are people sitting in when they click our paid ads. And I want to go through that with the client. And so here we go. Now, I've blacked out the cities for you, but they would all be here. And we know our paid search area. We know the area that we're in. Just so you guys know, we do allow out-of-area clicks. I'll give you an example. We might have a radius. We're sitting in Naperville, Illinois, and this is a suburb of Chicago. There is no way that any auto dealer that is located in Naperville can cover the city of Chicago. It would take too much money, and it would be wasteful clicks. However, so we do a radius targeting, for example, in Naperville of, say, 7 miles around the dealership. But we allow our ads to be shown when somebody uses a geo-modifier or the group name. We allow them to be shown outside of our area. Reason being is because a lot of people that live in Naperville work in downtown Chicago. And I want to not show to them when they're sitting at lunch break or pilfering time from their boss and searching for a car at work in Chicago. What do? They search back home. They'll search for Honda dealer Naperville. Well, I want to show up even though they're outside of our 7-mile radius. So that's why we need to look at city data. That's one reason. We need to understand what are our backyard clicks, where do people work versus where they live, what are their behaviors. Going through city data, we can find out, I can find a client. If I work with Florida clients, we know that people will not cross bodies of water for some reason to go shop for a car, like they won't go across bridges. So we work with the client and go, well, that city's on the other side of Lake Okeechobee. You're getting a lot of visits there. And the client will say, don't worry about it. We don't need to put any more effort there. Those people never buy from us. Well, then we cut that off. Might be another thing. There may be a new subdivision that we don't know about that didn't show up anywhere. That's way on the other side. And the client might go, oh, yeah, that's an area of growth. We know that the plans for growth in that area are skyrocketing. Young families are moving there, whatever. That's how the city data can be used with your local client knowledge, your local knowledge as the client to understand where things are growing, where they're shrinking, where your client base is, maybe where a bad credit opportunity is. And that's why I like the city data, because it gives me an opportunity to talk to you, the client, about the towns that you live and work in every day. On top of that, we can use this data then to affect other channels. If we find out that there's a city that you're like, that's a city I need to be in, I'm not sales effective there, then we can increase our paid search budget there. We can add some display to get some high funnel type traffic. We can do some Facebook targeting there. We can do SEO that may be geared for that area. So a lot of different things we can do by using city data. So that's one of the things I like to review in paid search. And by the way, you could review it in organic too. I just didn't do it in the case of this client because of what we looked at earlier. The city data is kind of, skewed a little bit because of some of the organic traffic we were getting. So in this case, we're using city data in paid search. By the way, we can look at conversion rates also, last click conversion rates based on city. Moving right along, you can kind of see how much time we have left here. We're almost done, my friends. Now let's look at conversions, okay? So we've looked at some channel data. I've given you some information about ways that I might use this. And again, what you're not hearing is my discussion that I have with the client during all of this. I like to call it riffing. And a lot of times, everything I have prepared for a client review, we never even get to have it because the client and I start talking about something we've seen. We go off and we make a completely new strategy in the middle of the call. And to me, that's really what makes things useful. It's not what I prepared ahead of time. It's what I'm able to prepare that brings the client to the table to say, yes, that's right, or no, that's not. I understand that. That's good. This is wrong. Those are the types of things that we want to do to open those discussions. So again, let's keep in mind something real quick also. When you add a third-party tool to your website, we lose the conversion data in Google Analytics. So I love a lot of the conversion tools like Blackbook, and there's $25 gift card pop-ups, and even chat. But the problem, or the challenge we have, I don't like the word problem, the challenge we have when we add third parties is when someone submits a lead through that third-party Blackbook, it does not trigger in Google Analytics. So if you have a lot of third-party tools that do get conversions for you on your website, you need to realize that those are not showing here, and that also affects your conversion rates, which is what a lot of my clients use their CRM data to calculate their conversion rates also. All right, so what we've done is we've gone down the left, and we've gone way down here to this, conversions, and we've gone down to multi-channel funnel, top conversion paths. Now, there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat. This is just the one I prefer to look at because I like the way that it lays the conversion data out for you. Now, let's get deep. Let's have a little fun. How do we set it up? The first thing we do is, we talked about this earlier, we have to set our conversion types. I've set only sales conversion types in here. I've gotten away from my I've gotten away from parts and employment and stuff like that. Path links. What these paths are, this is called assisted conversions, is all paths mean that somebody could have clicked once and submitted a lead, or these 7 people, they have actually clicked 10 different channels and submitted leads. So we want the path links to be all. We want to see everybody that's only clicked once, twice, 3 times. We want to see them all. And then you want to set your look back window to 90 days. Again, I'm not going to go too much into that. Just trust me. Always set your look back window to 90 days. When you do that, again, here's our conversions, 611 versus 343. But let's dig in and see the real numbers. The other thing we're going to do, by the way, is the default is the MCF channel grouping path. I want you to add a secondary dimension. So you click this right here, secondary dimension, and it'll open up this green box. Go under acquisition and click campaign or search medium path. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So now that's how you set it up. Now that we're set up, this is the view that we get. And here's where we're really going to make strategy based on everything else we know. This number hasn't changed. You can see it right here. But look at what we get here. Referral, organic, direct. And here's what we have on the right is we have some really nice openings. So let me give you an example. Here is referral, is the channel. And then this I have taken out. This is their group site. So we know that referral, their group site has brought them 124 leads, or 20% of their leads in this time frame. Whereas last year their group site only brought them 56 or 16%. That's referral working all alone. Those people referred over from the group site and submitted a lead, done. That's called a direct conversion. Here's organic. This is Google acting by itself, 106 leads, or 17% of their leads. Nice job. By the way, don't worry about these dollars over here. That was an experiment we were doing. Don't worry about that. Direct. Here is direct, acting alone, right? I'm going to show you a little something about direct traffic in a second. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes, though. These are assisted conversions. Here is where organic is working together with direct to deliver 4% of their leads, or 25 of them. Organic and direct working nicely together. Let me show you why, and by the way, organic made the introduction in this case, and direct closed the deal. That's kind of how you look at it. Organic introduced you to the site the first time, then they came back later, and direct closed them. Let me show most of your direct traffic to be organic. So I can open up my browser here, and I use Google Chrome. And you guys have probably noticed this. I have a client that's not related to this review. Their name is Allyn Turner Hyundai. They're good friends of mine. I'm on their site a lot. So I go to their site all the time. So I start typing in the word Allyn. And you'll notice I just started typing in Allyn, and how my browser is going, hey, buddy, you go to Allyn Turner Auto a lot. You must want to go there, right? And I think to myself, actually, yes. And so what I do is I click this one right here. Bam. That is now a direct visit to that deep page, by the way. And that is why your direct traffic is on the rise. And you'll see this is not even a Dealer Inspire website, by the way, just to show that we're not like so skewed on everything. I wanted you to see that that is why direct traffic is up. But that truly was an organic visit. I started to type his name. It would have been a branded organic search. But because my browser makes my life easier, which is what Google does, I was able to click and now get a direct visit. And that's what you see a lot of times here with organic versus direct. Very similar with referral indirect. The group page introduced them, but then later these 18 people came back later on. By the way, we can also talk here about the group page itself. The reason the group page itself does have higher traffic this year, and again, that's because these guys took on a big TV budget. This is another reason it's so important for your digital company and your traditional company to know what each other are doing and to keep a consistent message, because they work together whether they like to or not. So when I can, I always try to get involved with the traditional agency and what they're doing to understand what I can do to help it work better. Here's Bing. Here's organic search and Bing working by itself, and that's why it's important to break it down to this level. If you just look at the organic only, you don't know the difference in the Bing leads and the Yahoo leads and the Google leads. This here is very typical of what I see. Bing doesn't deliver as much. However, in areas of the country like Florida, where this client is not at, I see Bing and Yahoo delivering a lot more leads as a percentage than what Google does because of all the older folks that live down there. And because of that, we can use this data to then shift a lot of some of their paid search budget into the Microsoft network, which is Bing and Yahoo. So just one of those things you want to look at and why it's important to break this down. Maybe you get a lot more leads from Bing than you realize, and you can see that here and direct some of your paid search there as well. We'll keep going. Here's where organic work together twice. Here is the tier 2 we talked about. You can see that. And we'll keep moving down. There's Yahoo by itself. Now, I've pulled out some other things. Here's paid search, lot links. Boy, there's a buzzword that'll get people talking. You want to talk about lot links at a party, you can get in a fight if you want to, or you can make a best friend. So I'm going to show you how lot links works a little bit here, because I don't care one way or the other. Lot links I think it's a good strategy, but I don't go for it or against it with clients, you know. But I can use this data to help a client make their own decision, and we'll do that in just a minute. So we'll go back to lot links. By the way, this was lot links working by itself. Delivered 7 leads for this client during the time period. Let's keep going down a little bit, and you can see a lot of different stuff. Here's some paid search. Paid search here is actually working by itself. And nice, you can see actually the campaign. That's why this is important. So this particular campaign, Dynamic New Vehicles, which is our fuel campaign, has delivered them 3 leads in the time period, acting all by itself. Keep in mind, by itself, because I'm going to tell you right now that paid search is an assist play. It's not a direct play. It's an assist play, and I'll show you in a second. Here's a Honda Certified campaign, delivered them 3 leads. Here's the locations campaign. Here's paid search working with itself twice. And by the way, when I say that paid search is an assist, it's also an introductory assist. We find that paid search makes the introduction a lot of times, but doesn't close the deal. Here's some direct. There's a lot of cool stuff going down. Here's referral and direct. So here is the tier 2 worked, and then these 3 people also came back direct later. So here's where tier 2 was playing an assist. Congratulations to this client. The 3 still alive AOL users submitted leads to their site. Glad they're indexed well in AOL. Extremely important. Something I put as a top strategy every time. I think AOL stands for Allyn is online, something like that. Anyway, you can see I can go through here all day long and just keep looking. Here you can see where we've got some pretty cool assists. Paid search made an introduction twice. Then they went to the tier 2, these 2 people. So these 2 people came in through tier 3 paid search, but were on tier 2 and came back. Another assist with paid search, where paid search made the introduction and Google Organic cleaned it up. Lots of cool stuff to look at. I'm going to show you something deeper dive. Here's another one. Here's a group page, then direct, then back to group page. All the way through. So I've used this for Auto Trader. I've used this for Cars.com. I've used it for basically anything that you do that's going to drive traffic that's outside of the norm. What you can do is work with us or your agency to use UTM codes so we can follow these and see if some of these different third-party traffic driving initiatives you're using are actually working. All right, get out of that one. And let's do a deep dive in lot links, because that's always interesting. So what you can do, and I'm showing you this, you could do this with anything, is you go back up to the top here, and you hit this button here, Advanced, and it's going to open it up, and you're going to use this, Campaign Source Medium containing the word lot links. And so what that's going to do now is it's going to show me only the times that lot links played a role. So in the same time frames that we've been looking at, June 1st to yesterday, lot links has played a role in 12% of their leads. Here, lot links 7 times worked all alone. Here, and these 2 people clicked lot links 3 times to submit their lead. And here's where lot links played a role with some other things. So this particular path for this one person, they came in by lot links, then 4 more times came in direct, then they came in by Google Organic, and then they came in and clicked a paid search ad. In this case here, lot links played its role twice by itself, and in this case, paid search made the intro, which was lot links, then Google Organic, then they got a referral from their group site, and then they came in direct twice and submitted a lead. So doesn't matter to me what I think. I just told the client, you got 12 leads where lot links played a role, and then they can do their own math and decide if that works for them. Keep in mind, almost all these initiatives are still just general advertising, so you can get phone calls and walk-ins and all those other things that people don't talk about. But again, you can at least see here that lot links did play a role 12 times.
Question on lot link time.
Okay.
So one of the ways we can track that is because Lotlinks now has UTM codes, right? So we are the two.
Yeah, we track them when they fall under campaigns.
There you go. All right, that was
okay. Yeah, Lotlinks. Oh, okay. Lotlinks made it so that they show up under campaigns and analytics now, which was a smart move on their part. Okay, let me just show you something about AdWords because I hear this a lot too. I don't see any leads from AdWords. Okay, AdWords plays an assist. It's an assist play. So I have the same view up that we've had. It's what we've all been looking at. But what I did is I said, only show me Google AdWords now. So here are the Google AdWords clicks that worked all by themselves to deliver leads. But you're going to go down here, and here's all the paid search, or these are all AdWords, Google AdWords assists, where Google AdWords played an assist. Look at how many times where Google AdWords made the introduction, and one of the other channels closed the deal. It's like being out with your buddies, and one of your buddies makes the introduction, but you close the deal. You guys know how that works. I don't. I'm old. Okay. So you can see there, paid search, making the introduction many times. So I just showed you that. So you understand if you're going to take a look at a paid search company and their results, please use assisted conversions to understand the performance of your paid search. Make sure you understand that it's a lot of referrals and that it's a great introduction. And by the way, you could really have some fun. You break this down at the campaign level, not just overall. This is overall. I've got all the campaign level redded out over here. But again, super deep. Last thing I want to show you, and then we can take some questions, is some of your customers are really glued into your website, and your website has to work very hard to close the deal for some of these people. Look at this guy here. One lead. This guy here came in direct twice, organic, then direct 3 more times, then he was referred over from the group site, then he came in direct 4 times. Could be a she or a he, I'm sorry. Then he came in organic, then through paid search, then through direct, then organic 3 times, then through direct, then organic again, and then direct, and then paid search again, and then direct, and then organic again, and then paid search, and then organic, and then paid search, and then referral from the group site, direct 4 more times, and submitted a lead. This lead right here was kind of expensive because you had to pay for a few clicks there. But this person really wanted to make sure that they wanted to get married to this Honda dealer before they submitted the lead. So
it looks like one of my business has.
Yeah. And just so you guys know what that is when somebody looks at a car that they really like, they'll come back day after day after day and actually sell themselves the car. Okay, that is everything I had, Shawnee. I hope that was helpful, and I guess we should turn it over maybe to a few questions.
Yeah, so if you guys got any questions, I know we've seen chatting going on here, then please let me know. And while we got Allyn here, I mean, while he's here, let's use him, guys. Let's use his brain. So if you have any questions, send them through.
Yes, we use Tag Manager as often as possible, and we try to get all of the Tag Manager and code installed on every website that we can. I'm not super familiar with Tag Manager. That's something our analytics department does. I just get to interpret the data once it comes through. But yeah, we do try to use Tag Manager when we can.
All right. Well, then. Any other questions? Okay. Just in case you didn't see it, I also sent out, just like a reminder, you can also check out the webinar a couple weeks ago with Transparency in Action. Talked about some of the reports that Allyn here just discussed, and there's actually a little discussion on that. Matthew Cole. Okay, what is authority, and does it help me?
Matthew Cole, you have all the authority, so yes, it definitely helps you. So authority is this. I'll give you kind of an old school definition, but a URL, www.something, has authority on the web, and there's a couple different things that make it more authoritative than others. Number one is age. So the older your URL is, the more authority it will have, because the internet is essentially 20 years old. A 15-year-old domain that's been online with a good website on it for a longer time is going to be more trusted than one that's been online for, say, a week. The other way to increase authority, and that obviously that should then help the ability for your site to rank organically, the more authority it has. Secondly, and I shouldn't say your site, your pages, because it's pages that rank, not your site. The second piece would be the links that point to you. So the more links that you have pointing to you that come naturally, those are like endorsements, and those also increase your authority. So if I'm a Honda dealer and I have a lot of Honda-related blogs and other things that link to me, then that will increase my authority in Google's eyes, and that's Google's algorithm. I talk about Google like it's a human. I think the algorithm lives inside me. it'll make you more authoritative in the eyes of the Google algorithm the more sites that link to you. You have to be careful, though. You can over-optimize that and actually destroy your authority. So works a lot the same in the real world. Just ask Donald Trump.
Yeah. But it helps if you also have like a deep voice, too. I think that helps. It's just a very strong voice. All right. So, okay, so we're hitting an hour here. So if you have any more questions, please keep them coming. Again, you can contact me at dihowdoi@dealerinspire.com, or you can contact Allyn directly because he loves mail. Allyn at launchdigitalmarketing.com. That's Allyn with a Y. And yeah, great information here, you guys. Again, please contact us if you have any questions. These are the kind of things that we want to make sure that you know. You should have your surveys in your inbox. Check your spam, and if you don't see it, then it shouldn't be in there anyway, because it's DI, it's awesome. And let us know. We want to keep these coming for you guys. We want to know what you guys want to know and want to see, and we got some ideas, and it's great. So we want to feed the good stuff. So without further ado, Allyn, thank you so much for being here with me today.
You're welcome.
That was authoritative. All right. So again, folks, thank you so much. We'll see you next week when we talk about responsive web design with Scott Dunham. It's going to be, he's a great guy. Plus, responsive web design, there's so much confusion about it. It's relatively new. So we're going to discuss that, brief history, how it's beneficial, and what makes it functionally aesthetic, which is a new term. I just trademarked, don't use it. Okay, thank you so much. I am Shawnee, the trainer of technologies for innovative dealers such as yourself, and I will see you all next week. Thank you.